And away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll take a look at some clips from the news and share a little bit of dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And if you are listening anywhere else and you would like to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk, and on Prepper University at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta, as well as Rumble now on Coffee Talk 2, and that's the number 2. Although if you're watching the live portion on Rumble, I cannot see your comments. I can only see the ones that come in from YouTube. Being joined today by Miss Kitty, who is setting herself up in the chair behind me. And I will, of course, naturally read through as many of the comments as is reasonable for the benefit of those of you who are listening and not able to see. And I'll say hello to some of the people that have chimed in so far. See, Bob is with us today, as well as Helter. Tuck, who reminds us to like, share, and subscribe, and hopefully on both channels, he suggests. Dragon is here. Brian is here. Ace, John, and only one have chosen to say hello, and hi to everybody else who didn't want to say anything, and that's okay. That's okay. It is not a requirement. We're not doing roll call. But I do like to try to acknowledge people. As we get ready to jump off here, I got a new video up on Coffee Talk. Before I get rolling here, we get into the first news article. New video on Coffee Talk talking about Gen Z and Gen Alpha because of an experience I had in Walmart over the weekend. And I see Puck has joined us. You see Miss Kitty sitting back there. She was waiting for you. Just because of like I said, I had an odd experience, I thought, in the Walmart, and I wanted to talk about it. And these some of these younger people in the workforce, again, there's some people in the workforce that are young that are good, and a lot of them that it's like, God, how are you going to make it in life? I just don't understand. And Puck has joined us as well. Puck has joined us. I already saw that. And Jeff is who I was looking for. Jeff has joined us here today. And one other person I could have mentioned that I thought about in hindsight after doing that video was when I was working at the mental health clinic. My wife and I, we were supposed to be there at 8:30 every morning. And it seems like the younger the person was, the later they were every day. We had one person working there in particular. I think she was about 24, already had 3 kids in college. And she would, I swear, 9:15, 9:20 every day. Supposed to be there at 8:30. Reeking of marijuana. The only reason that they held on to her is because they didn't know if they could find a suitable replacement in time, because they were already short-staffed. And it's just, there's just way too much of that going on. And it's interesting how in the modern era, a lot of that is tolerated, and it didn't used to be. Show up like that one time in my era, in my generation, and you would be out of a job that day. So we get into the first article here. And this is going to be a Financial Times article. I'm sure people have been hearing about this all weekend. Zelenskyy offers to step down in exchange for peace and Ukraine's NATO membership. Yeah, he wasn't willing to do that before Trump got involved in the negotiations, was he? He wasn't willing then. Suddenly, he's willing to step down. That's interesting. Volodymyr Zelenskyy has said he is willing to step down as Ukraine's president if it would secure lasting peace for his country. I see. If it brings peace for Ukraine, if you really need me to leave my post, I'm ready. I can exchange it for a NATO membership, Zelensky told reporters at a press conference in Kiev on Sunday. If such conditions exist, I will step down immediately. Speaking ahead of the third anniversary of Russia's full blown invasion of the Ukraine on Monday, Zelensky also said he wanted U.S. President Trump to be a close partner to Ukraine and not just a mediator between Kiev and Moscow. Really, I thought you didn't like Trump. It's funny how things change really quick when the money turns off. U.S. and Russia officials last week agreed during their first high level talks in Riyadh to lay the groundwork for future cooperation on ending that war and a non molestation of relations or normalization. Where did I get that from? I really, Zelensky again, I really wanted to be more than just mediation. That's not enough. Okay. Suddenly it's not enough to work with Trump. Suddenly he wants to quit. He wants to step down as the president, which, of course, was one of Trump's stipulations. He doesn't think that Zelensky's handled things well. Plus, it would look better to Russia if Zelensky wasn't there. That makes sense, especially after last week, Zelensky admitting that he doesn't know where half the money is. $350 billion, half of which was in the form of equipment. Talked about this a lot in the last few weeks. Talked about it a lot in the last few weeks. That they don't know where the money is. Where's the money? Show me the money. And he's claiming, Zelensky that is, oh, we didn't get $350 billion. We got somewhere between 177 to 200 billion, I believe is what we read in the article last week. Although he overlooks the fact that half of what they've received has been equipment, vehicles, weapons, ammunition, and so on, and other types of aid packages, food, medication, whatever surplus that we've had that we've dumped over there that somehow ended up in South and Central America. Just saying. Puxy says he saw Zelensky was yelling at the Treasury Secretary when he asked where the money was. When he asked Zelensky where the money was, and Lucky is here. Incredible, isn't it? How that works. Suddenly he's on board with the idea of stepping down. Suddenly he wants to work with Trump to negotiate things. What happened? Well, the money's been shut off. There's not going to be any more money. Not from the United States. And we were committing probably half of their war effort at least, matching the funding that was coming from all over Europe. And if we're not going to fund it anymore, you think Europe is going to keep funding it? You think they're going to keep pouring money into that money pit? Knowing that the United States is backing off of that? Bob has joined us. He says, good evening. It's evening where you are. Raccoon says he's such a liar. He bought mansions all over Europe and fancy yachts. He gave money to his generals to spend. It all comes to light where that money went. And as you recall, when he was here the last time, he was called out because his wife spent over $1 million at Tiffany's and Company in New York. Incredible. But it doesn't stop there. Because also in these negotiations, he's got more to say. Zelensky's not done wrapping his gums around this by a long shot. And this is going to be a Ukrainska Pravda article. We got to go overseas for this one, but it's an English translation. Don't worry. Going overseas for this one. Zelensky on his deal with the U.S. Quote, I'm not going to acknowledge that. Oh, what money? We're back to that. Oh, here he is. I'm not. What about what debt? I'm not having debt. Oh, Trump is crazy. Ukraine, Zelenskyy has stated he does not intend to recognize an agreement under which Ukraine would owe the United States $500 billion. Trump wants that war effort money back. Oh, so here we go. And this is a quote from Zelensky. I know we had $100 billion from the US government. And I'm not going to acknowledge US 500 billion debt, no matter what anyone says. And he goes on that they point out, it says the president also says he does not want to recognize the 100 billion as a debt to the US because he does not consider US financial aid to be debt. I see. Notice the difference. Now when he's talking to his people, okay, again, this is Ukrainska Pravda, story by Voldemir Tunik Friz, right? Suddenly, the U.S. only gave him 100 billion. I see Paul has joined us. Puck says Zelensky said it was a grant. If it's a grant, he can pay it back. He's telling his people, oh, it's only 100 million, only 100. But when you were interviewed by the U.S. and they said 350 billion, you were like, no, is 177, maybe 200 billion. So which is it? 100 or 2? How much is it, Zelensky? Can't keep it straight. Zelensky also stated that the conditions of the mineral agreement with the United States require Ukraine to pay double the amount of money the U.S. would contribute. He compared the help given to Ukraine with that provided to Israel, emphasizing the unfair approach towards the Ukraine. Well, we haven't gotten around to getting paid back from Israel yet. They only just got started. This they've been dumping money into for 3 years. And quote again, I'm not going to sign something that 10 generations of Ukrainians will be paying for. Okay. Under the agreement, Kiev and Washington will set up the Reconstruction Investment Fund for Ukraine's recovery, with the U.S. maintaining 100% financial interest. Both countries will manage the fund jointly. Is that what it is? Now, see, that's completely different. If it's a reconstruction investment fund that's being set up, okay, if it's a reconstruction investment fund, it's kind of like Japan after World War II when they surrendered and we invested in the reconstruction. But if we invest in Ukraine's construction, the Trump, that is, the Trump administration, the executive branch is expecting them to pay back for that reconstruction. So we'll negotiate peace. We'll shut this down. We want a portion of what's been given to you paid back. And then if we invest in the reconstruction of the Ukraine, we want that reimbursed as well over a period of time, which is not necessarily unreasonable. I guess he just thought the war effort was going to get funded indefinitely until Russia just decided they didn't want to bother anymore. At which point you would still need to negotiate a reconstruction deal with somebody, because there's no way the Ukraine can do it on their own. And Peter says it was 350 billion. Yeah, that's what they were saying. That's what they were saying. Oh, and Coffee Girl has joined us. Glad you could make it. Because we were talking about Voldemort Zelensky and his financial tables, which seem to be all over the place. He doesn't know how much of what there is. He wants to pretend like it wasn't 350 billion because he's only counting cash, of which he already admitted was anywhere from 177 to 200 billion. We read that on Friday in an article Friday. He doesn't know how much. I guess that just leaves 23 billion up in the air. But then he tells his people in Kiev Oh, it's 100 billion. Only 100. Yeah, okay. Maybe only 100 that went to the war effort and the rest of it went somewhere else. Maybe that's what happened, Voldemort. Maybe that's what you're up to. I don't know. And again, like was pointed out, people have mentioned that he's been spending a lot of that money on himself or gifting it to people. And I'm recalling, of course, the story that we read last year when he was visiting in the United States, doing the rounds to Congress and to the UN, begging for money. He walked around with his hat in hand. That his wife was ticketed at Tiffany's in New York for what, $1.2 million? Is that the number? I'm trying to remember. Somebody there outed her, showed the receipt for her purchases. Must be nice. And John wants to know, how can a broke organization like the United States give out any money? I don't know. Ask Biden, because he was showering this guy with money, and now Trump has derailed that train. He's like, no, you're not getting any more cash. And then, of course, if like I had pointed out earlier, if we're not going to give any more money, you think Europe's going to continue to invest? And if Europe's not going to invest, then the show's over. He may as well negotiate peace. As has been stated over the weekend, he now claims, okay, yes, I'll be willing to step down. I will resign as president, and they can go ahead and hold an election, which was one of Trump's stipulations, which he balked at, but now suddenly he's willing to do. And Paul says he doesn't know how much the wife spent. He doesn't? He doesn't know. I don't know what she spent. She has card. She has card. She swipe card. I don't know. I know. I don't understand. Please. What a country. What a country. Who knows where that's from? What a country. Who knows who that is? Let's see who's paying attention today. Let's get those nostalgia buttons going. Ah, what a country. In Russia, we not have Wheel of Fortune, we have Wheel of Misery. We not watch Love Boat, we watch Love Barge. America is so great. So, somebody gets that. I know it. Somebody has to get that. Incredible. Oh, Raccoon says Night Court. The person I'm referencing was on Night Court, but that's not what I'm talking about. And Kimberly is here. And Tuck says Coming to America. No, was he in Coming to America? Not Borat. No, Armored. That you're thinking too modern. You got to go to the 80s. Yakov Smirnoff. Yakov Smirnoff, the Russian comedian who became an American citizen and was popular for being a Russian comedian. Bob got it. Yakov Smirnoff. Thank you, Bob. And he used to do the circuit. He was on the Tonight Show and all of that, and the Letterman Show, whatever. He had his own sitcom, which was I think a couple of seasons, playing a Russian immigrant in a what was it? It was a class for American citizenship back when you used to have to actually earn it. But there you go. And he appeared in a couple of movies. He was starred in a film. I forget the name of it, but yeah, he's faded away. The only references I've seen to him, the last time I heard him even referenced, was on King of the Hill, because he's Bobby Hill's favorite comedian and even appeared as himself on the show and did his own voice work. And Legends has joined us. Glad you could make it today, Legends. We're wrapping up talking about Voldemort. Oh, there you go. Legend says that was the comedian who got pepper sprayed by Dale Dribble in King of the Hill. Correct. But yeah, he was a real comedian, and whose heyday was in the 80s. And Puck says he was thinking of the guy that was the dictator. God, what is his name? Sacha Cohen. Sasha Cohen. I think most notably, he's remembered as being Ali G. Ali G. He used to go around and do those fake interviews before he's faded away too. I think Ali G. Sasha Cohen's his career is kind of finished. Really kind of finished. As we shift around here, since we'll get off of Ukrainian politics for a minute, we'll get to American politics here really quickly, because and we're gonna look at a Sky News article. So we're going to Australia to talk about America. Here we are. Accomplished nothing. Kamala Harris receives a prestigious NAACP award. Are any awards actually prestigious anymore? Let me just ask. Are they all fake now? I mean, everything. So, the Oscars, the Emmys, the Grammys, the Nobel Peace Prize, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Yeah, it's technically supposed to be prestigious, but is it? Is it really anymore? Or are these just things that the elitists give to each other to pat each other on the back? I mean, how much did it cost Jay-Z to get Beyonce the Album of the Year award? I've read rumors about that have been floating around, that the wheeling and dealing he did for her to get Album of the Year for Cowboy Curtis cost him in the neighborhood of $100 million, which means that award was purchased. And she still stood up and looked shocked. Oh, what you mean, me? I won? If I put out a crappy album like that, I'd be shocked too. Getting into the article, Newsweek's senior editor-at-large, Joss Hammer, has slammed former Vice President Kamala Harris being awarded a prestigious honor at the NAACP Image Awards. The former vice president received the Chairman's Prize, which has nothing to do with Frank Sinatra. Somebody's old enough to get that reference, which is given to individuals who excel in public service and leverage their unique platforms to ignite and drive meaningful change. Oh, that sounds like bullshit right there. It says they want to try to keep her, that is Kamala Harris, relevant, Mr. Hammer told Sky News. The woman accomplished absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I got to concur. We've talked about Kamala Harris a lot, particularly since she was installed to run for president. She didn't go through a proper election process. She was installed, lost. A lot came out about her during that time, especially her involvement with the district attorney's office in California when she was in politics there. How she really basically did nothing ever except show up for photo ops and take credit for other people's work. 30 years in politics with really nothing to show for it. And as I've pointed out, you don't have to make history to be important in your job. In politics, just at least do the job. And it can't really be demonstrated that that ever happened. As a vice president, as a district attorney, as anything else that she's been involved with in the last 30 years. But apparently, and Lucky suggests how she got the trophy here. Apparently, it's good enough for her to get the NAACP Chairman's Prize, which apparently is given to, quoting here, individuals who excel in public service and leverage their unique platforms to ignite and drive meaningful change. What a mouthful. Sounds like a mouthful of shit. It's hard to take that kind of description seriously. That can mean anything, which is probably why it's worded that way. Reminds me of my citizenship award. I still have it. Look, there's my Great Citizen Award. I didn't sign it yet. I didn't sign it yet because in the description on the back, it says that I have to earn this reward by making sure that I've voted properly. Yeah, you know what that means. And that after the election, they may check voter records to see who will send awards to next time. I may not get another one because I didn't vote the way they wanted. See? But I've got the award. It's ready to go. I could frame this anytime. And it would be worth about as much as the NAACP Chairman's Award. And the Frank Sinatra reference is because back in the day, his nickname was Chairman of the Board. Brian wants to know where you can get one. Well, contact Tom Lopek, the president of the Voter Participation Center, and tell him you didn't get your award and that you're very disappointed. And then he will check your voter registration, and he'll see whether or not you're a dedicated Democrat. He'll see if you qualify. Oh, and this is a nonprofit. I was looking at this. Yeah, nonprofit.org. I hadn't noticed that before. So that means that your tax dollars paid for me to get this. Your tax dollars paid for this citizenship award. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate that. I'm a citizen. Oh, thank you. I wasn't sure. I was confused. I mean, how can I know if I'm a citizen or not if I'm not like a civics major? I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Oh my goodness. Jumping to the New York Post. Here's some good news. Some people will get a kick out of this. MSNBC cancels Joy Reid's Lefty show as network makes major shakeup. Well, I mean, if it's not getting ratings, it shouldn't be on the air. And a lot of these shows have remained on the air despite not having good ratings for quite a long time, which doesn't make any sense. It says MSNBC's liberal mainstay, Joy Reid. There's not much joy in that woman if you've ever heard her talk. Her name is an oxymoron. Has been canceled as part of a major overhaul by the network's new president, Rebecca Cutler, according to a report. The 7 p.m. program hosted by ardent Trump critic Reid, who is 56. Really, it's hard to tell with all that foundation on. She's got so much foundation and was so airbrushed, it can be difficult to tell an age. And Puck wants to know if that citizenship award was USAID funded. Probably. But anyways, as we go on, it says it'll be replaced by a new panel show featuring co-hosts Alicia Mendez, Michael Steele, and Simone Sanders Townsend, the New York Times reported. The final episode of Reid's show, The Readout, will air sometime this week, ending a mainstay of MSNBC's lineup for the past 5 years. MSNBC has declined comments, of course. It marks the first large-scale shakeup by MSNBC's new president, Cutler, since she took over the liberal network earlier this month, as it looks to double down on its lefty agenda during the second Trump administration. Well, the tides have turned. And people don't want to see these guys anymore. We were forced to watch them because most people don't want to see it. The ratings speak for themselves. And so now we've got a program director who's like, nah, you know what? If people don't want to see it, let's take it off the air. And that's the way TV should work. Reid, one of the most prominent Trump bashers in mainstream media, has been a long-serving anchor at the network, hosting the weekend talk show AM Joy, since 2016 before getting the anchor of the 7 p.m. slot in 2020. She made a series of infamous rants in recent months, including telling Trump supporters to make their own dinner at Thanksgiving, saying they should suffer the consequence of your votes. Why wouldn't you make your own dinner on Thanksgiving? I don't get that. Cutler is making other major changes at MSNBC as she looks to change the fortune of the network, where ratings have consistently trailed behind Fox. Alex Wagner, who has hosted weeknights at 9 p.m., is also losing her anchor chair after Rachel Maddow returned to 5 days a week at the network to cover the first 100 days of the Trump administration. Maddow is set to return to anchoring just 1 day a week on Mondays later this year. It's not like they haven't made enough money that they can't just retire at this point, so who gives a shit? But that's how a network is supposed to be run. If they're not making money because the ratings is bad, you take it off the air. You take it off the air. Raccoon says she'll probably show up on The View with the rest of the loony ladies. Yeah, that show should go off too. Although sometimes it gets a big rating bump because there are people that will watch that show just to see how far down their throat they'll stuff their foot. It's kind of how Howard Stern stayed relevant for so long, when everybody hated his show, but they would listen to see if he was going to put that final nail in the coffin. And again, who cares? All right, she's off the air now. How much is she worth? How much is she possibly worth that she would care if she never did another show again? These people have been making money hand over fist for years. And I'm curious now to see what her net worth is. See if I can find it. Here we go. I've got it. I'm going to pull this up and I'll share this with everybody. Joy Reid's net worth. Let's take a look and see if it matters. Here she comes. And that photo was probably taken like 30 years ago. Is it coming over? Here we go. Joy Reid, net worth as of 2024, $21 million. $21 million. Monthly income, $9,000. Salary, $10 million. $10 million a year? Since when? She was born in 68, 56 years old. Profession, television host. Current estimated net worth, $21 million. American cable television host. Works as a correspondent for MSNBC. Joy Reid is also the author of numerous best-selling books, through which she earned millions of dollars in royalty income. Yeah, okay. Money laundering. Money laundering. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Yeah, I don't believe that. She lives in a 7,400 square luxury house in downtown New York City. She bought the property for $8 million. The house has 7 bedrooms, 9 bathrooms, a pool, as well as other amenities. She owns 5 other real estate properties, 6 cars, 1 luxury yacht. Her asset portfolio includes cash reserves of in excess of $8 million. She has an investment portfolio of 7 stocks that are valued at $4 million. Her stock portfolio includes Johnson & Johnson, Qualcomm, Tesla, PayPal, and MasterCard. Oh, God. Peter said, I thought she was a socialist. Yeah, I know. I guess not. And Marvel Fan is here. He says he was partying all night over Joy Reid being canned. Okay. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. $21 million? She's laughing all the way to the bank. I love that she has Tesla stock. I think that's hilarious because because she talks pretty bad on Elon, doesn't she? She doesn't mind collecting money off of him, though, does she? Tuck says, "I wish I could know who among people I know watch shows like hers. It would tell me a lot about their character." Indeed, indeed. Peter says, "House not that big. My place is bigger. I guess it's big for New York." Yeah, real estate property in New York. Keep in mind for that house, she paid $8 million, according to that printout. She paid $8 million for that house. Yeah, real estate in New York is up there. So that is big for New York. That is big for New York. And we'll jump from New York to Chicago because we may as well stay on task and talk about Obama. Talk about Obama here next. Actually, it's some bad news for Obama for a change. The Western Journal, Poetic Justice, Obama Library delayed. Again, they're still building that damn thing. Discrimination lawsuits, environmental injunctions, and enrichment allegations. What? You mean political upheaval surrounding Obama and his library, his like multi-billion-dollar money pit of a library that nobody wanted, that the city of Chicago insisted upon, and the neighborhoods in that area all protested all the way up until the deeds were signed? That library, the proposed Obama Center in Chicago, has become a towering welter of lawsuits and other issues. The project was first proposed in 2017 after former President Barack Obama left the White House. From the outset, the project was stalled by resident opposition and other concerns. Once scheduled to open in 2021, the project now has an opening date of 2026 because it's been pushed back again for like the fifth time. I think. I think it's like 4 or 5 times. The Institute for Policy Innovation complained the center's poor location misses valuable opportunities to improve overall land use and economic development in Chicago from putting it elsewhere. The foundation's sweetheart deal with Chicago violates the public trust doctrine, and the actual transfer took place without the foundation meeting either its financial preconditions or the multiple environmental laws protecting key public landmarks. Even at this late date, the deal should be undone. If allowed to be completed, the OPC project would uproot close to 1,000 mature trees, disrupt major migratory bird paths, and run north to south along the shore of Lake Michigan. In total, the public cost of the new road work, borne by the federal government in Illinois, but not by the Obama Foundation, of course, probably exceeds $300 million. And that's just to rework the roads around this building. That's going to come from Illinois taxpayers, ultimately leaving the already overtaxed and congested system with 3 fewer north and south lanes than it had before. Incredible. What is the total that they've sunk into this so far? I'm scanning ahead just to see what because the project's a monstrosity. Bob says Obama looks really old. Yeah, he is. And Peter said, "What's the point of any presidential library? Narcissists." Well, once upon a time, it wasn't the president who initiated it. It was just to honor a former president, usually a deceased one, if I'm not mistaken. But you just make a new library and put a president's name on it. It wasn't that lavish. Nowadays, though, they build these insane monumental libraries that cost a fortune. And I'm trying to look it up here to see if I can find out how much has been sunk into it so far. because originally I believe it was supposed to be like around 850 million, but they are way over budget. Yeah, it says here we go. I guess so far 1.5 billion sunk into a library project, and they're still looking at delays. It was supposed to be finished in 2021. 20 that's a vanity project. Put up a library for a few $1 million if you even need one, because nowadays people don't even go to the freaking library anymore except to use the computer and look at porn. Nature Nerd said Rockefeller made lots of libraries across the country, educating many. Well, back then people would read. Back then we didn't have the internet. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have all of that. And Rodney made a donation to the channel. Thank you, Rodney, helping out our feline friends. And there you see Miss Kitty sleeping in the chair. Hey, Miss Kitty, you ignoring me? I know she hears me. But thanks again, Rodney. We need all the help we can get. Always, always appreciated. But yeah, as the article alluded to, poetic justice, you sink in $1.5 billion into a vanity project, this monstrosity of a library in an area that nobody wanted. They didn't want that library there. The neighborhood protested it. Environmental agencies protested it because it interferes with the waterfront. And they stuck it there anyways because Chicago, because they saw a cash cow. They wanted that money. Rodney says he suspects much of the money for the library ended up in the coffers of corrupt bureaucrats, and that could be. And they're not done, and now they pushed it back again to 2026, maybe for a library that after they cut the ribbon, how many people are going to use it? How many people are really going to use that? And Puck says he's at the library now. You're at the library now, huh? Well, I hope you're not watching porn. It's bad for you. It's bad for you, actually. I believe that. Jumping to a Center Square article, while we're in Chicago, we may as well take a look at some more corruption. Center Square article: immigration group received over $63 million in Illinois taxpayer funds in just 7 months. What did they get $63 million for in 7 months? Let's find out. From July 2024, February, that is right now, 2025, Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights has received over $63 million in Illinois taxpayer funds, according to the Illinois Comptroller. ICIRR received, it sounds like a song on Sesame Street. ICIRR. Yeah, okay. Received nearly $4 million of taxpayer money this month for Illinois' Welcoming Center. Oh, that's nice. I hope they have refreshments. According to the Illinois Department of Human Services, the centers eliminate systemic barriers that immigrants may have in approaching state services. That's the motto of this center. You know how like businesses have a motto? What is it that your company stands for? Oh, well, we eliminate systemic barriers that immigrants may have in approaching state services. Okay, State Representative Adam Niemerg suggested the Federal Department of Government Efficiency come to the state of Illinois and uncover this ridiculousness and see how tax dollars are really being spent. Illinois does really need a complete overhaul. They need a total audit of all of their spending. Because, again, I used to live in Illinois. It's bad. There's something really, really wrong with the way that state's run, and it's been that way for a long time. The only thing systemic in Illinois is corruption and wasteful spending. The governor is going to do the Springfield two-step. This is a quote from Nienberg. Or Niemerg. Is it Niemerg? I think it's Niemerg. I think I added an extra G. He's going to do this parlor trick. Today he's going to say, hey, I came up with some revenue to try to balance the budget, but we have C virus money that's gone. He spent over 3 to 6 billion on illegal immigration, has a $3.2 billion deficit for the state. And I guarantee you at 3 a.m., the last night of session, they're going to be raising your taxes. ICIRR has a hotline that is promoted on the Roger Baldwin Foundation of ACLU Illinois' website. The foundation's Director of Communications and Public Policy, Ed Hjonka, explained the hotline was posted because they want people to know where they can go if they see U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement activity. That bypasses federal law. They can get in trouble for that. Need information about getting legal representation for people who are detained by ICE, says Hjonka. So that's where the money's going? According to ICIRR's website, the hotline provides callers an option to either report ICE activity and or receive support to locate someone in ICE's custody. You can do that by contacting ICE. I get an idea. I'll run a hotline right here with my phone, and you give me $63 million, and I'll answer it, as I'm available, and I'll give people advice all day. Oh, no. And now Brian's afraid to go to the library because people watch porn there. They watch porn, they play games. I don't know. They do stuff they shouldn't do. They don't. A lot of them are not reading books. It's not like when I was a kid. Paul says it's going to have a mysterious fire at the library. Nature Nerd says the left blames environmentalists and single-family unit homes, zoning for a lack of homes and high apartment prices. Yeah, but then they want to build a $1.5 billion library. All People says the organization eliminated barriers to the migrants getting welfare, in other words. As I catch up a couple of comments, John says we're basically in a commie state. Commies never leave willingly. Balkanization is only hope, and it's coming. And one more here. Nature Nerd says Illinois has the worst roads in the country. Yeah, and a shit ton of tolls. And they'll get you. They'll send you tickets for those tolls even when you paid them. I did a video on that on Prepper University years ago. And then you call them on it. You call their hotline, and they're like, oh, yeah, I found it in the system. Then what the hell are you sending me tickets in the mail for then, jackass? Anyway, Nature Nerd says they ranked 49 or 50 last time they checked. Despite high property taxes, the farmers get screwed. Yeah, property taxes in Illinois are horrible. It's one of the main reasons we left. It says on social media that Niemerg said that the main reason for the $3.2 billion budget deficit is due to funding allocated for illegal immigration services. Illegal immigration services. And it says also the Department of Justice has a lawsuit against the sanctuary status of the state of Illinois currently. Yeah, they need to shut that down. And I've talked about it before. When I was there, the Lottery Commission had suspended them from to not allow them to sell lottery tickets. It took them months to be able to sell lottery tickets again because they weren't paying winners, and they wanted to know where the hell that money was going to. Why aren't you paying your winners? It's just a mess, and their property taxes are insane. It's one of the highest in the country. And for nothing, you get nothing. And then they tax you when you go and you get your receipt, sales tax. They got a regular sales tax, a secondary sales tax, a county tax. That you can get a receipt in some places, and it'll have like 4 different taxes on it that are added onto your bill. Just doesn't make sense. Bloomberg article. While everybody's complaining about tariffs, This right here is one of the things that those tariffs are supposed to do, and that's discourage companies from going overseas. Catch this one if you missed it in the news. Apple will add 20,000 U.S. jobs amid threat from Trump's tariffs. Basically, because of the tariffs that are being imposed overseas in Asia, particularly China, Apple, after having a meeting with Trump, the CEO of Apple, I guess, came to D.C. and had a sit down with Trump, and they've worked out a deal. Apple's going to bring all the jobs back. Apple Incorporated, as it seeks relief from U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs on goods imported from China, said it will hire 20,000 new workers and produce AI servers in the U.S. instead. The company said Monday that it plans to spend $500 billion domestically over the next 4 years, which will include work on a new server manufacturing facility in Houston, or Houston, it depends on your pronunciation, a supplier academy in Michigan, and an additional spending with its existing supplier in the country. The $500 billion investment and pledge to add 20,000 new jobs marks Apple's biggest U.S. commitment to date. Apple said it hired 20,000 research and development workers over the last 5 years and said in 2021 it would invest $430 billion locally over the next half decade. That means the latest development is a slight acceleration over its prior investments and previously announced plans adding $39 billion in spending and an additional 1,000 jobs annually. Trump wrote in a post on Monday on his social network Truth Social, Apple was making the investment because of faith in what we're doing. Apple didn't say whether the new investments were already underway before Trump's win. They're not going to. They're not going to. Basically, a situation's been created by which it's cheaper for them to start manufacturing here again than dealing with China. And it should be manufactured here. It should be. And Nature Nerd says 20,000 Apple jobs in the U.S. sounds pretty good. Peter wants to know, how can you tax something you already own? That's my argument. If you have to pay tax on your house and they can take it from you if you don't pay it, then you don't really own it. You don't really own it. It's ridiculous. Although the one good thing I will say about Illinois is they have a sliding scale fee for veterans on disability. So every percentage of disability that you claim is a percentage off of your property tax. And if you hit 100%, you don't pay property tax. That's about the only thing they got going for them as far as anything like that. So if you're a vet on 50% disability, you pay half. It's still too much, but, at least there's that. But this is one of those things that tariffs are supposed to do, because we do need to be manufacturing our own goods. We do need to be having the jobs here instead of outsourcing. This is a good thing. That's a good thing. And again, the CEO of Apple had a sit down in D.C. with Trump, and that's what he came up with. And Rodney says, glad to see your simulcasting on Rumble. Did you just comment on Rumble? Because I was told that Restream said they couldn't show it. So is that a Rumble comment, Rodney? Because then that helps. Not that anybody's over there watching, but it does help. Because Rumble Rumble's a graveyard. I don't think anybody's over there, I swear. But, I'll try. I don't mind sharing the platform. I don't mind trying to find other ways to reach out to people and get them involved in the conversation. They might not like what I have to say, but that's all right. They don't have to. You don't have to always agree with me. That's the way life is. This I thought was interesting, and I just want to touch on it briefly. CNN article: Jane Fonda. You remember Hanoi Jane? Some of you know what that means. Jane Fonda gives politically charged speech at the SAG Awards. Quote: Woke just means you give a damn about other people. Uh-huh. So she pandered at SAG Awards. The only thing sagging these days is Hanoi Jane herself. She could put on all the foundation that she wants, but her hands and her wrists say it all. I know I'm awful. I'm not a fan of Jane Fonda. Not a fan. But she's saying that woke means you give a damn about other people. No, woke means you're selfish, sweetheart. Okay, because those people are mean and they don't compromise. And their idea of compromise, when it comes up, is you do everything I say and then you suck the rest up. I take all I can and I give nothing. That's woke. So, no, they're not giving a damn about anyone. They might be pretending to. And maybe that's what you felt like you needed to say to try and remain relevant. But it's far from true. And Puck says, I thought it was FAG. Yeah, that's on, oh God, what's the name of that puppet show? It looks like Jerry Anderson's Super Marionation uh, with America World Police. I always forget the name of that movie. And they call it the FAG Awards. Yeah. Bob says Jane Fonda got my favorite cartoon canceled. Which cartoon was that? But I mean, I don't give a damn what Jane Fonda has to say. Care. I really don't care. I don't even really want to bother to read the article. She's 87. She's 87 years old, trying to stay in the public eye for God knows why. Who cares? Just retire, woman. Thank you, Puck. He says Team America World for Police. World Police. I never remember. I never remember. I know the movie, but I always think Jerry Anderson because that's what they modeled the puppets after. I don't care what this woman has to say. And especially now that we're moving away from the whole woke agenda thing, because most people are not down for that. And now we're in a position in the United States where we can stand against that. Bob says SWAT Cats. I remember SWAT Cats, 90s cartoon. And Tuck says the fact that Fonda didn't rot in prison was a huge sign we were headed in a terrible direction. A terrible direction indeed. And before we wrap up here, we may as well take a look at the debt clock really quick. And see where we are at. Here it comes. USDebtClock.org. Doge currently at $132.5 billion. Big jump over the weekend. Big jump over the weekend. 132.5 billion and counting in Doge savings. That's right here. In gold, to earmark it as the new kid on the block, as it were, for the debt clock, which again is a really interesting tool. I recommend taking a look at it if you are in the United States. They do, by the way, have a world clock. And we can look at that in more detail next time because it covers several countries. I think the top 20 or so. So there we go. As we get ready to wrap things up. Again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta, and Rumble on Coffee Talk 2 with the number 2. Special thanks to Rodney, who made a donation to the channel today. Always appreciated. Thanks for that. And thank you, everyone else, for joining us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation. And with that, we will see you again